Hey guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH here today. Today I want to talk to you about a really cool horror adjacent. It's basically a horror documentary. You know, I've been really digging and watching a ton of horror documentaries, and I felt like I had run the gambit until I realized there was this documentary that I started a while back, and then something happened and I didn't finish it. And sure enough, I wanted to see if there was a Blu-ray of it, and there was. The documentary in question is To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. Now here's the documentary on Blu-ray. Yes, it has a Blu-ray. He's been beaten, bullied, and burned, and that's just the beginning of his story. So clearly you can probably tell what this documentary is about. Now the question is, do I really want to see a documentary about Kane Hodder? Isn't he just the Jason guy? No, he's not. But what's really incredible about this documentary is not just, you know, going over the films that he's done and learning about some of the films that he's done that I never knew about, but his story. We've all heard that Kane Hodder was burned, but what was the situation? How did it happen? What happened? I know that Kane Hodder put out a book about 10 or 11 years ago called Unmasked, and it's basically his autobiography. Now, watching this got me super excited about Unmasked, so what did I do while I was watching this documentary? I ordered the book. So when I get that, I can't wait to read it, because I know that's going to dive into a lot of different stuff and in a lot of fine-tuned detail, because obviously in a documentary, we're covering the career of Kane Hodder. But was this a good documentary? Quite frankly, it was way better than I ever could have expected. It was a tearjerker at moments. There were things about Kane's life that I really related to. There are things that he went through that are harrowing. I mean, truly harrowing. You know, when it comes to the burn situation, I really don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it. But it's horrible. I didn't realize what it did to him mentally, what he went through. And you got to remember, this was the late 70s, so technology and the health medicine world was different back then. And that part of the documentary, just, my hand was over my mouth when I was hearing about the stuff that happened to him. I never in a million years would have guessed. I thought he had a burn accident, you know, he got hurt and he went to the hospital for a few days, and then he had to just struggle to get over the fear of what happened to him and the PTSD of it. No, it was probably 100 times more worse what happened than that I could have ever expected. So that was incredible. And I really liked learning about Kane's relationship with other people and the people he knows and the friends he has. And one thing that's great about this documentary too, guys, is when it's a documentary that's going over somebody's life and career, it shows a lot of how that person is respected when the people that are his peers all want to be a part of it. So you're going to see a ton of familiar faces in here. You're going to see Adam Green. You're going to see Robert Englund. You're going to see Bruce Campbell, Bill Moseley. You're going to see people that have so much respect for Kane and that work with Kane or are in the same world as Kane, the horror world, be there for him in this documentary. And I really, really loved going over Kane's career. One of the things I'm super interested to really dive into more, this documentary ended up making me spend more money because as I'm watching it, I'm like, I know he played Ed Gein in a 2000 serial killer movie. Oh, he did BTK too? I gotta see that. So while I'm watching this documentary, I'm going on Amazon and seeing how cheap the DVD is so I can get it and that sort of thing. And we get to see some of Kane's personal life too, which I really enjoyed. I liked learning about Kane as a person and his family and things like that, and you know, the family he has, and really just some of the struggles he has, and they were really open about that, and it made Kane really humanized to me in a way that I was not expecting. I thought I was going to learn, okay, maybe there's some nuggets about Friday the 13th that I haven't learned about when he got the part for part 7, things like that. Maybe they'll talk about prison, which they do talk about prison, really cool stories with that, but it really covered his life and career, and it was just an incredible watch. This is something I already know. Without question, I'm watching this again. I'm watching this again because the quality and production of it was very, very nice. It was shot and it had the speed of those vintage horror docs that I've been talking about. It doesn't feel like it's a million miles an hour. You can really get cozy on the couch, sit down, and take the journey, and it's not boom, 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 because a lot of stuff that's edited nowadays in the documentary world, some of it just seems so fast, and you don't get to sink your teeth in anything, and This was completely the opposite. It felt like a 2000s horror doc. The speed of it, I loved it so much. I don't know when this came out. I think it was, 2018. So this is 6 years old, so it's not really that old now. So it's a relatively new documentary, I guess. If you 6 years old, time flies. So to me, that's relatively new. But I really enjoyed it. And the reason I wanted to get the Blu-ray of it, I was assuming there was going to be some special features, and there were. So we'll look right now at the menu screen. I watched all of them, and I'll talk these over with you guys. So the first thing we have is bonus bits, which is basically excerpts from interviews and extra things that people said. Then we had bonus burn memories, which was, that's the hardest part of the doc to watch because it really gets into what happened to Kane and all that sort of thing. But very extensive and very good. You get to hear more interviews at the hospital and things like that. The Kane Hodder fight history. Now, this was far and away my favorite part of the deleted scenes, and you're going to hear a lot of stuff about Kane being... he's always up to shenanigans when he was a kid, it sounded like. But there was a story about something that happened at a convention that I would love to know more about, and what convention it was. I'm going to have to do some digging to find out. But that was really cool, and a lot of it was silly stuff that he would do with his friends when he was a kid. More memories on Kane Hodder's films, which was always good. You know, he talks about a lot of the movies he did and some of the stuff he worked on. And, you know, he did a movie with Danielle Harris that she directed, and she was talking about that. Yes, Danielle Harris is in here too, by the way. Extra comments on the Friday the 13th films. It's always nice to see that. I don't think I learned anything in particularly new through that, but, you know, this was still when Buechler was alive, so God bless him. It's always good to see him in that. And then we had additional thoughts on the Hatchet series, which I love the Hatchet series. I'm hoping to learn even more about that, and hoping Adam Green brings back Victor. I think right now Art the Clown needs some competition in the excessive gore slasher genre, and there's one character that can do that, and that's Victor Crowley. Yes. So hopefully we get a new one of those soon. So guys, there it is. I mean, this isn't going to be a super long video, but I just got to say, To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story was one of my favorite horror documentaries I've seen in quite some time on a person. Last year, they did Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, which was the Robert Englund documentary, and that one I did a whole review on as well. It was a breathtaking documentary. I learned so much about Robert Englund. That documentary cost me a ton of money because I was getting movies that I wanted to see. And some of the stuff you get re-talked about in here, like, you know, Kane and Robert really started working with that FearNet stuff that was going on in the early 2000s and that sort of thing. They do cover Freddy versus Jason and what it meant to Kane. Now, what I love about Kane is he's not a crybaby. He doesn't just whine and complain about it. Did it bother him? Yeah, he was vulnerable and honest about it, but Kane just accepts what is. I just really like Kane. He had a lot of likable qualities about him. I would really recommend To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story, and you'll really enjoy it. And the Blu-ray, I should say this, the picture quality on this, I remember when I streamed this, it might have been on Tubi. Now, buffering and things like that, you can't really hold it against it too much if your internet connection's not great. At the time, my internet connection was not great. I have better internet now. The Blu-ray of this was super sharp, super crystal clear. I really loved the Blu-ray for this. And like I said, I'm definitely going to rewatch this. I learned a lot about Kane. We go over a lot of the movies he's done. Of course, there's a ton of Friday the 13th talk in there for those that are hoping that's the case as well. I mean, it covers everything, but of course, there's a lot of Friday talk. But it was just a really good doc about a human being that got into the horror world, the things he had happened to him before the horror world, and now how important horror is to him. So that was it's just really good. Really good. And I like the special features. They were great stories we heard. He had a lot of crazy stories. I want to know more about this one story of him getting in a fight at a convention that somebody rigged the raffle, and he was pissed off about that. I want to learn more about that. Hopefully I can find an interview where he talks about that more, or I can read up about it. This documentary on Blu-ray is really cool. I really recommend it, and you're going to get some cool special features. So, you know, you could check it out online for sure, but if you want to hear about over 90 minutes of deleted scenes, I think this makes it worth it. This is exactly what I like about a Blu-ray. Give me a bunch of excerpts. Give me more interview clips. Let me learn more about Kane, and you'll got a big customer for me. So there it is, guys. To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. Check it out. If you've seen it, let me know your thoughts on it down below, guys. This is your old pal CHH, and we'll see you next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. thank you to my patrons.